Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday to you. Welcome to the 7th Annual State of the Guard. Let's kick off our morning with a video showing us how busy the year was for the Delaware National Guard. No sound, Helena. There we go.
And I'm so proud of the work of our Guardsmen and women over the past year. Whatever you ask, they do. No job is too tough. It's been an extremely busy year for the Guard, from the deployments overseas to the deployment to Washington, D.C. on January 6th, to security for the inauguration of President Biden, to the streets of Wilmington in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. All of this as the Guard continues to be the backbone of Delaware's response to COVID. We simply would not be here today were it not for the efforts of the Delaware Army and Air National Guard.
We are extremely fortunate to have had the opportunity to promote 2 dedicated and experienced soldiers to the rank of Brigadier General.
Carla is a fearless leader. She also has an enormous amount of compassion, foresight, and knowledge.
He has a highly developed skill set and a great role model for the junior warrant officers and aspiring NCOs.
What I express to our airmen is that they matter, regardless of whether you work on the flight line, whether you're serving a meal. Every job in the Air National Guard counts.
The new state-of-the-art combined support maintenance shop costs $36 million, with most of the money coming from federal funds. The 62,000 square foot facility is an upgrade from the 2 small original maintenance shops.
This CSMS replaces existing CSMS
Recording in
1952.
Construction was completed last December, a month ahead of schedule.
The 166th Airlift Wing had the great pleasure of welcoming its first C-130 H2.5 model aircraft. This is an update from our last versions that were 1984 models. This airplane also has an engine upgrade. We call it the 3.5 engine, so it makes it a more sustainable aircraft, combat ready for years to come.
With enormous pride and heartfelt gratitude, I send my very best wishes to Delaware Air National Guard on your 75th birthday. You have never failed to answer the call. And Jill and I thank you and your families particularly for all that you have sacrificed on behalf of our nation. So happy 75th.
Our overall mission here in D.C. is to provide security at the Capitol. So we have soldiers along the fence line providing security for the Capitol to assist the Capitol Police. I think as the soldiers go through their days here in Washington, D.C., they're going to gain a sense of pride in what the National Guard is all about. The ability to serve your state and also go into Washington, D.C. In the efforts that are going on here today. I feel a sense of pride here in D.C., and as I walk around and I talk to the soldiers, I think the soldiers feel a great deal of pride that they're doing a mission that is actually beneficial to the citizens that live here in Washington, D.C.
Snapshot in history that they're going to experience.
So that's Todd. That means the whole Coons doing it.
Everybody super about that, and especially the Delaware National Guard soldiers. We really appreciate them helping us and flying their helicopters down here. It's really something, because if we didn't do this, you don't want to do this for the first time in the middle of a hurricane.
We're taking some of our larger trucks and trailers that we've never airloaded before and practicing loading them onto a C-17, getting the feedback from the personnel in the ATOC and the guys from the 3rd Airlift Squadron, and tapping into that expertise has been extremely valuable for us.
A first-of-its-kind program is headed to the Delaware State Capitol to assist under- and uninsured residents.
I love it. This is amazing. I mean, I'm a nurse as a civilian, and so helping people is just what I do. So any opportunities I get to do this, I'll do it.
I am grateful for this, and I know there's so many other people that are too, because you're helping us get services that we couldn't normally have. So thank you, and thank you for your service.
Go to Delaware now, where dozens of people have to be rescued from high water today.
We just got an update from officials. That number of dozens of water rescues, that's since changed. They had to come in here and make 200 water rescues. It was so bad. Trucks with the National Guard had to be brought in overnight to help get these people out of here.
The 7th annual Philadelphia Parade and Festival taking place here on Sunday. Lots of folks out to support veterans.
They were helping support the mission to help vaccinate the community. The ride has been awesome. Met a lot of incredible people, got to travel a little bit, and get a chance to be on a mission like this, which is really, life-changing, and this is making history right now, so I really am proud to be a part of the Delaware National Guard.
My name is Colonel Millington from the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. From the flight, we were able to see lots of similarities between Trinidad and Tobago and Delaware. And so there are several issues that would impact an island that would impact Delaware. And certainly from that aspect, we can partnership in relation to training. I think the partnership between Delaware and Trinidad and Tobago is a significant one.
The images are overwhelming enough. Soldiers sleeping on the floor of the Capitol building. But the sight is even more remarkable when you realize behind every man and woman here, patrolling the center of our democracy, is an American story.
Here is a young man who is serving the country in a very unprecedented and difficult moment in American history.
In a nearly empty room near the Capitol he is protecting, Specialist Cho took the oath.
Part of the oath says to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, and precisely what he's doing.
An inspiring American's story at a time we so desperately needed it.
Today, as I always do, about the service and sacrifice of so many Delawareans. The common thread from one generation to the next throughout our history is a commitment to honor and self-sacrifice that represents the best in all of us. Thank you to all our veterans, to their families, and to our National Guard for all that you do. May God bless you, and may God keep you safe.
Good morning, everyone. Well, that sure makes me want to call a recruiter and sign up to serve my state and nation. I think my time has come and gone, though, so I'll simply remain a proud aunt to my 2 nephews, Brandon and Ryan, and a proud sister to my brother, Adam, who has 21 years service, all of them serving in our Delaware National Guard. Good morning, everyone. I'm Christine Kubik. I'm your incoming chair for the Joint Military Affairs Committee of the Delaware State and Newcastle County Chambers. I also proudly serve the 2,700 men and women in your Delaware National Guard, along with their families, as the Director of Joint Support Services. It's my pleasure to MC today. Welcome to the 7th annual State of the Guard brief to our community. We have the largest attendance ever for this event. More than 200 are Zooming in today, from our elected officials and community partners to our amazing chamber members and to the steadfast, supportive civilian employers of our military. I'd like to recognize several distinguished guests with us today. We're honored to have with us Commander-in-Chief of the Delaware National Guard, our Governor, the Honorable John Carney. Our federal delegation, all are with us today. U.S. Senators Tom Carper and Chris Coons, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester, all who will be offering remarks later in our program. In addition, also with us, I see State Senators Brian Pettyjohn, Kyle Evans-Gay, Dave Wilson and Dave Sicola, State Representative Mike Ramone, Mayor, City of Dover, Robin Christensen, Mayor, City of Newark, Stu Markham. From your Delaware National Guard, our keynote, Delaware's Adjutant General, Major General Mike Berry, Director of our Joint Staff, Brigadier General James Benson, our senior enlisted leaders, State Command Chief Air, Chief Master Sergeant Robin Moore, and State Command Sergeant Major Army Ed Crossman. From our Dover Air Force Base, thanks for joining us from the 436th Airlift Wing Commander, Colonel Matthew Huseman. And I also saw our former Adjutant General, Major General retired Frank Fabla join us. Thank you all for joining us. Let's get going with our program so we can hear the latest on the people and operations of your hometown force. Sorry about that. We'd like to thank our event sponsors today, Auto Team Delaware, Offutt Kerman, Assurance Media, BNF Telling, and Middletown Area Chamber of Commerce. Now let's get going with our program so we can hear the latest on our missions, people, and operations of your hometown force. As our speakers take the podium, should you have any questions, please be sure to type them in the chat. We have folks monitoring the chat. Governors in the states hold the distinct role of Commander-in-Chief of their state's National Guard. In that role, they can activate National Guard personnel to stay at active duty in response to natural or man-made disasters or homeland defense missions. Soldiers and airmen remain under the command and control of the governor until their federal missions. It is my distinct honor to introduce our Commander-in-Chief, the 74th Governor of the state of Delaware, the Honorable John Carney. Governor.
Thank you very much, Christine, and good morning to everybody who's joined us. Thank you for being with us. It's great to be with you this morning for the State of the Guard event. I certainly want to thank the State Chamber and the Joint Military Affairs Committee for sponsoring the event again this year. I'm particularly pleased to talk about the state of the Delaware Army and Air National Guard this year, and to use this opportunity to thank the members of the Guard for their incredible service, and to the employers of the Guard's men and women for their support of their employees when they're deployed. As the state Commander-in-Chief in the past 5 years, I'm proud to report that the state of the Guard is strong and more involved in assuring the safety and welfare of the state of Delaware than ever. First, I'd like to recognize Major General Mike Berry, who you're going to hear from in a few minutes, for his incredible leadership here in Delaware, and this past year for his assistance with me on the Council of Governors. I can't tell you how great it is to have a commanding officer who is always there to provide guidance that the Commander-in-Chief needs and to respond to whatever needs we have in our state. And we've had a lot this year. I'm also proud to report that General Berry's leadership team is as strong as ever. And this, in my view, is part of the great legacy of leadership of Lieutenant General retired Frank Fabla, who I understand is with us this morning, and the late General Carl Timmons, and previous Guard leaders who mentored and developed today's leaders. Last year, the Delaware Guard celebrated its, Delaware Air Guard celebrated its 75th anniversary, as we heard from President Biden. I know that the Guard always answered the call over those many years. I can't imagine, though, that they've ever been called on like they have the past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic here in our state. It has certainly been my privilege to serve as Commander-in-Chief during this challenging time. I've had to call on the Guard time and time again, and they always stepped up, no matter what the task, no matter how big or small. Quite simply, we would not have made it through this pandemic like we have without the Delaware Army and Air National Guard. It's really just that simple. Over the past 2 years, the men and women of the Guard helped save lives. They've helped save your businesses, and they've helped save people's jobs. National Guard's men and women helped us stand up one of the nation's best COVID testing and vaccination operations, administering hundreds of thousands of COVID tests and thousands of vaccines across our state. And this past month, when the Omicron variant was surging across the state and hospitals and emergency rooms were bursting at the seams, the Guard went in and provided badly needed staffing and relief. They volunteered for emergency CNA training to support our long-term care facilities, allowing the hospitals to release elderly patients who no longer needed hospital help. Last week, I went out to meet some of the Guard members at the Nemours Children's Hospital and the Cadia Healthcare facilities where they were helping overworked staff. I was there really just to express my sincere gratitude to these men and women. But I was really overwhelmed by the compliments patients and hospital staff members shared about their service. They were just so incredibly happy and relieved, frankly, to have the support from our Delaware Guard. Everyone I talked to during these visits told me how important the Guard was in getting them through this crisis. They were so complimentary and appreciative. I also heard heartwarming stories from the Guard members themselves. They spoke about the chance to help others in such a really personal way, caring for them in their time of need. And I know that in particular, the children at Nemours enjoyed having these men and women in uniform to dote over them during their deployment there. The idea of the citizen soldier is fundamental to the ability of the National Guard to serve our community in so many ways. We always need people willing to sacrifice, willing to serve. And so one of General Mike Berry's top priorities, and I'm sure you'll hear it from him, is to retain and recruit the men and women we need for all the missions that come our way, and to increase those numbers over time as a goal. We need to keep those units fully staffed. And so a major priority has to be to keep seeking talented young men and women to join our team. And as Christine said, there's never been a better time to join the Guard. In my recommended budget for this year, I've proposed funding for the National Guard Joint Enlistment Enhancement Program, or JEEP, to help encourage more Delawareans to consider a career with the Guard. This will help General Berry meet those really important goals. I'm also pleased to report for the first time that in the near future, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, funding from President Biden and our congressional delegation who have joined us this morning as well, we hope to begin construction of a new Readiness Center at the DRBA Newcastle Airport. This will be an exciting addition to the Guard's facilities there and hopefully help us with our recruitment efforts. What should be pretty obvious by now is that it has been a very busy year for our citizen soldiers and airmen and women of the Delaware Army and Air National Guard. We, as Delawareans, owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude. I'm immensely proud and grateful for their service here in Delaware and overseas. Our Guardsmen and women are our friends and neighbors. They're our employees and our colleagues. We're lucky to have them and their service. We're also lucky to have a business community who understands and appreciates their important work. And I want to end by thanking the Chamber and the Joint Military Affairs Committee again for hosting this event today. And most importantly, for your support of the Delaware Army and Air National Guard every day during the year. It means a lot and it makes a huge difference. Back to you, Christine.
Okay, thank you, Governor, so much for those remarks. I know our troops always appreciate your visits when you go out, when they're on site. So thank you for also dedicating time to be with us today. Next, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester is Delaware's lone voice in the House of Representatives. She made history in 2016 when she became the first woman and first person of color to represent the first state in Washington, D.C. She's a member of the House National Guard and Reserve Components Caucus. Please join me in welcoming our Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Christine. Governor Carney, Senators Carper, Coons, and other elected officials, Major General Berry, Guard leadership and members, to the Dover Air Force Base representatives, and to the state and Newcastle County Chambers of Commerce and the hundreds of small businesses who are the backbone of our state. Good morning. Special thank you to Mike Quaranta of the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce and Steve Pacino and the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce for organizing today's State of the Guard. Today, we hear about the accomplishments, partnerships, and vision for the future. A special thank you also to the Delaware National Guard and your families for all that you do. Before I begin my formal remarks, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. I know I speak for the entire delegation when I say we strongly condemn Russia's non-provoked attack on Ukraine and stand with our allies. We pray for the people and we pray for peace. In fact, Senator Coons just returned from the region yesterday. The situation reminds us of the overwhelming sense of gratitude we feel seeing all of you this morning. What we're seeing unfold in Ukraine right now is the worst outcome of a desperate dictator clinging to power. And in truly the most stark contrast, what I see in front of me today is the very best of a democratic system committed to freedom. All of you, citizen soldiers who put on the uniform to defend our state and our country willingly because you believe in the ideals that our country represents. And when you put on that uniform, all of us know that we can rely on you. When our state needed assistance with COVID testing and vaccinations, you were there. When we needed to relieve the strain on our hospitals, you were there. When we needed to combat extreme weather disasters from climate change, you were there. And I know personally, when we needed to protect our nation's capital after the events of January 6th, I was so proud that you were there. And when the US is and was needed around the globe, you were and are there. Our state wouldn't be where it is today without the courage and sacrifice of the Guard members and the courage and sacrifice of your families. Please know that we are all here to thank you, and thank you. And I'm so proud, as was mentioned by Christine, to be a member in Congress of the House National Guard and Reserve Components Caucus. And I was even prouder to vote for the passage of this year's annual defense spending bill for fiscal year 2022 that included nearly $768 billion in funding to invest in the health and readiness of the Delaware National Guard and its members. Specifically, this bill authorized $17.5 million to replace the Newcastle County Airport fuel cell hangar. You shared the need with us and we advocated for it. Teamwork, that's what you're all about. I also voted for the passage of HR 1836, the Guard and Reserve GI Bill Parity Act, which improves access to educational benefits for National Guard members, because it has never been more important to invest in the service members who risk their lives to protect our nation and its freedom. I want you all to know that we are grateful for your work now and every day, and that it does not go unnoticed. Thank you for your continued work, and stay safe and be well. I turn it back over to you, Christine.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you for being with us today and your kind words of our Delaware National Guard. As we always say, always ready, always there. Next, Senator Tom Carper has more than 46 years of public service, to include serving 5 terms as Delaware's U.S. Congressman, serving as our Commander-in-Chief as the 71st Governor of Delaware, and now in his current capacity as U.S. Senator since 2001. Senator Carper served 23 years in the Navy, to include 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. He was a naval flight officer and retired at the prestigious rank of captain. Always an advocate for our military members and our families. Please join me in welcoming Senator Tom Carper. Sir?
Thank you, Christine. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you very much. I think something like a dozen times in my life, I've raised my right hand and taken an oath to defend the Constitution of our country. Many times in uniform, and later as an elected official of the state. The Constitution that we've all taken an oath to defend begins with the preamble that says these words, and I just want to share them with you again today. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. Everyone on this call has taken that oath. Army and Air Guard members, officers, enlisted have taken this oath. I just want to say thank you for being among the foremost defenders of our freedom and our liberty in this state and in this country. I come to you today. Normally I come for an event like this as a former Commander-in-Chief of the Delaware National Guard. It's a day of great joy. My heart is heavy today as we watch the coverage, the video coverage, the television coverage of yesterday of an unprovoked assault on a small country by a much larger country. We hear of the death of men and women, innocent men and women and children, civilians, military personnel. And I just want to start my remarks today to say, this will not stand. We will not stand by and allow this to happen. We are aligned very closely with many other nations around the world in our determination to bring this to a halt, and a halt that will not be to the liking of Vladimir Putin. I also want to say today how much it meant to me every day as United States Senator to get off the train in the morning and to walk up Delaware Avenue to my office and to see the members of the Delaware National Guard there to protect our Capitol days after the assault on our Capitol on January the 6th. We're in your debt. We're indebted to you. And we want to thank you for being there that day, those days, those weeks, on the heels of the worst assault on our democracy in the history of our country. Thank you for being there. I would also say that we know it's been 100 years since we've had a pandemic like we've gone through this year. Winston Churchill used to say, when you're going through hell, keep going. And for the last 2 years, we've gone through hell. And National Guards men and women who fly airplanes, who repair airplanes, who send out radio messages, who do all kinds of things in uniform here, who turn out when we have hurricanes, who help us when we have blizzards. You're there to help us. And this last year, we've seen that National Guardsmen and women who do all those things, can also drive school buses, can actually go to schools and help prepare food and make sure kids have something to eat. Can go around this state and make sure that thousands of people who would otherwise could be a victim of this pandemic get a vaccination and are able to live and enjoy a good life. I just want to say thank you for doing all those things. This Constitution I don't think this Constitution I just read to you from ever anticipated. The other thing I want to say is, and the governor said this, Congressman said this, I know from personal life and my own family, my father and all their service, families, we're just so indebted to your families. And we want to thank your families for sharing you with all of us. And with that, I want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve you. We're going through a tough time in this world. This president of ours, our commander-in-chief, is pretty good at putting together alliances, and we have a strong alliance. There's an African proverb that goes something like this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we, along with our NATO allies and others around the world, are tightly aligned to make sure that, again, justice is done and what's going on in the Ukraine is brought to a halt, hopefully with no loss of life on our side, and to limit the loss of life there. Again, thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Senator Carper, for your continued support and your remarks today. We're always appreciative of your support of our military, our veterans, and our families, and we appreciate your time being with us today.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes, sir. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about our Chamber Committee. The Joint Military Affairs Committee made some significant accomplishments over the last year. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Kevin Fasek. He was our outgoing chair for the Joint Military Affairs Committee for the last 2 years. We appreciate his leadership and leading us through all these accomplishments that you're about to hear. Appreciate on the right side of your screen there are the 15 members current of the Joint Military Affairs Committee, and we are seeking new members, as you'll see in our goals in a couple slides ahead. The goal of the committee is simply this. It's what we're here for today, to establish a better understanding between the Delaware National Guard mission and our business community. Next slide. Made some significant achievements this last year. You'll see a little bit later in our program. We had a higher count of nominations for our annual Warrior Friendly Business Award, which we'll be announcing in a little bit. We were able to get written support for the Delaware Air National Guard's fiscal 22 community project funding request for the new fuel cell, which I know that General Barry will be talking to us about that later in the program. We appreciate the Chamber's support with that. We had an article in the Delaware Business Magazine acknowledging our employers, certainly recognizing again that our employers and our Guard members are a shared resource as they match a great military career within a dynamic civilian career. So we appreciate all of our employers. And then we've been able to add ESGR to our committee this last year. Next slide. Want to recognize, I know we do have on the line here today, zooming in with us, General Retired Hugh Broomall, who is the current Delaware ESGR state chair, along with several of the volunteers. The volunteers of the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve work tirelessly and have so for the last 50 years in helping us as a reserve component recognize our employers for their support to their military employees. Just want to pause for a moment. We wanted to thank them and give them a happy 50 years as they celebrate their 50-year anniversary this year. Next slide. Another big accomplishment, really proud to continue this. Our golf tournament that we had this year was a total sellout. We hold this in the fall. We had 32 sponsors that you see on your screen. We could not do it without them. And we had 116 golfers come out. Total sellout, we raised $22,000 for our Delaware National Guard Youth Foundation, whose mission is to inspire all the Guard youth and bring them out together in connecting them in different activities. Save the date if you'd like to get involved with this next, with our next golf tournament this year. Our date is always the last Monday in September, September 26, 2022. Also want to thank, because it's named for him, and he has always been a huge supporter of our Guard youth, Major General Frank Favlo. We appreciate, he always comes out and supports us and supports our Guard youth. Sir, thank you always. Next slide. As we go into 2022, we still remain steadfast with our key events that we have. Our nominations for our Warrior Friendly Business Award open in the fall, along with the golf event September 26th that I just mentioned to benefit our Guard kids. On February 24th, save the date, it's the next State of the Guard for 2023. And then we'd like to start a new event this year. We're hopeful that we'll be able to recognize July 25th and hire a vet day, and hopefully bring a job fair to draw military talent, to our chamber members and businesses. We'd like to see that happen in the July and August timeframe. More to follow on that. We hope you'll join us as a chamber member. We'd like to grow our committee membership. We'd love to see some veteran-owned businesses or small businesses join our membership. Reach out to anyone on the JMAC committee if you're interested. And then we'd like to engage in some more state-level legislative issues that are affecting our Guard, military, and veterans. Next slide. Okay, that was a JMAC update for this last year. We've been quite busy. Next, join me in welcoming our Delaware State and Newcastle County Chamber leadership to offer remarks. First up, our State Chamber President Mike Quaranta.
Thank you, Christine. It's really great to be with everybody. Thank you very much. Very excited. You know, I can't, how do you top what the governor said, the video, and Congresswoman Blunt Rochester or Senator Carper? I guess if I could add a real important part of this to what's already been said, and that would be this. The men and women in the business community who provide employment on a regular basis to members of the Guard, really show incredible flexibility to accommodate Guard members, their families, because you never know when events are going to occur, whether it's natural disasters or other challenges. And it's so very important for members of the Guard to have an employer with a heart and with a head that says, I'll give you the flexibility that you need to accomplish your mission. So we're grateful for, of course, all the members of the Guard, the leadership of the Guard, but also for our employers who do so very much to be as flexible in really, really difficult times. At any circumstance, it's hard to lose somebody, but boy, the last couple of years has been an incredible challenge for so many members of the business community as employment has been down, staffing has been down. Some of those challenges persist. So we're grateful to all of them for all of their contributions and their flexibility in very demanding times. Christine, terrific program for the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. Its members, its leadership is proud to be a partner in this program and with the Guard. Let me turn it over to Steve Bacino, who's here to provide some commentary from the Newcastle County Chamber. Steve?
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being part of the State of the Guard hosted by the Joint Military Affairs Committee, also known as JMAC. I'm Steve Bacino, Chairman of the Board for the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. Bob Chadwick, the Chamber's president, is unable to attend today's events and sends his regards. I have been a member of the Joint Military Affairs Committee since its inception numerous years ago, and I'm honored to be involved with such an important initiative that promotes veterans' employment in our state's businesses and supports our National Guard members and their families. Christine discussed the committee's past accomplishment, and the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce is looking forward to continuing its efforts with the Joint Military Affairs Committee in 2022. The committee has been presenting the Warrior Business Friendly Award since 2015, and I would like to congratulate this year's winners. Now, Christine will introduce Don Fulton for the 2022 Warrior Friendly Business Awards. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike and Steve, for your remarks this morning. I feel like we should start with a drum roll. It's time to reveal this year's amazing award winners for the Warrior Friendly Business Award. Please welcome Mr. Don Fulton from the JMAC committee to carry us through. Don?
Thank you, Christine, and good morning, all. Thank you for participating in this important endeavor this morning and to help us recognize some businesses here in Delaware that have been doing some outstanding work as it relates to supporting veterans and Guard members throughout Delaware. Each year we present this award, and I'm thrilled to be representing JMAC to let you know who our 2022 recipients are. Next slide, please. The award is given annually to two companies, one a large business with 50 or more employees and a small business with less than 50. And we recognize companies who have done an outstanding job of hiring members and veterans, members of the Guard and veterans, and preparing them and their family members for the workforce by utilizing the skills they obtained during their service and translating that into their business issues at work. Additionally, we encourage our businesses to explain how important it is to hire veterans and Guard members because they make excellent employees. We have presented this award for the last 6 years, and the past award recipients are coming up here in just a moment. Next slide, please. You can see our past award recipients, and all these are amazing companies who do outstanding work. I would encourage you to recognize them if you know them and to thank them for what they do for supporting our veterans and Guard members. And now on to our 2022 award recipients. Next slide, please. Our large business winner this year is M. Davis and Sons. The next slide, please. Who are doing some outstanding work we missed one slide there. Back one more slide. Okay, so M. Davis & Son currently has hired on staff 23 veterans as full-time employees. They constantly recruit military talent for their workforce. One of their high marks is their participation in the U.S. Department of Defense Skill Bridge program, which allows them to take on new employees in an apprenticeship program to get exposure to various trades. And then at the end of that position, they are able to provide full-time employment to those folks. They also have developed an in-house craft training program specifically for welding, electrical, and project management programs. I'm very happy to acknowledge M. Davis & Son as our 2022 Large Business Award winner, and representing M. Davis and a veteran himself, Mr. John Gooden.
Well, thanks, Don. I'm honored to represent M. Davis and be recognized for our work in creating civilian careers for soldiers. Really, the core values that drive the military forward are shared by M. Davis, which truly makes this partnership an easy success. We look forward to working with this group for many more years to come. And on behalf of everybody at M. Davis, you have our thanks. Back to you, Don.
Thank you, John. Great job. Our small business category this year is one that continues to support service members and veterans, and it starts from the very top, from their executive director, Deesa Burton, who's a U.S. Navy veteran and spent 10 years as a surface warfare officer in both the U.S. Navy and the Naval Reserve. They've aligned themselves with the Veteran Affairs, Veteran Employment through Technology Training Program. The Vet Tech program is designed to take a veteran or service member and to find employment options for them in the high demand technology industry. And Zip Code Wilmington is proud to be one of the first software boot camps in the entire country offering this Vet Tech program. I'm pleased to recognize Zip Code Wilmington as our Small Business 2022 Warrior Friendly Business Award, and representing Zip Code this morning is Lucy Freeman, who is the Director of Corporate Partnerships. Lucy?
Thank you so much, Don. We're really, really proud to receive this award today. Thank you so much for the Delaware Chamber of Commerce, for the Joint Military Affairs Committee. We're really proud. Serving veterans and making sure that we upskill and reskill everyone has been a large part of our mission for a long time. And I'd like to also share a special thank you, Governor Carney, while you're on the line, for the additional funding that will provide scholarships for eligible Delaware residents and make this life-changing, transformational educational opportunity available for many, many more Delaware residents and further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. So congratulations to our two winners. Just as a side note, we did present their Eagle trophies to them, Crystal Eagle trophies, on Wednesday at their places of business, and it was really heartwarming to see. They brought out their veterans and members, and there's some really, really cool stories. Lucy didn't share this with you, but some of the things they've done with veterans who now are gainfully employed and came from not great situations. So we're thrilled for both M. Davis and Zip Code Wilmington, and I would also like to take this moment to encourage all those that are listening to consider submitting an application for this award in the future. Applications are opening up, as Christine mentioned, on the 1st of September of this year, and we would love to recognize some additional businesses in Delaware who are doing outstanding work. So thank you again, congratulations, and Christine, back to you.
Great, thanks, Don, and amazing, wow. Two very, very award-worthy winners, so thank you. All right, next, offering remarks next is our junior senator elected to the U.S. Senate in 2010. Senator Chris Coons quickly earned a reputation for bipartisan efforts that focus on the needs of Americans instead of party politics. He's a leading congressional advocate for our Americans veterans and the National Guard. He's introduced and passed legislation to fund modernization of the C-130H aircraft flown by our own Delaware Air National Guard, benefits equality for our Guardsmen and women, and to reauthorize the Guard State Partnership Program that brings durable military, political, and commercial ties with more than 70 nations around the world. Please welcome Senator Chris Coons.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you to the members of the Joint Military Affairs Committee, members of the State Chamber and County Chamber, and all the sponsors who recognize the inherent value of our Delaware National Guard and the ways in which it contributes to our state, to our society, and to our freedom. Thank you also to Governor Carney for your great leadership in our state, and to Adjutant General Mike Berry. You and your team have done an outstanding job of guiding the Delaware National Guard through what has been a challenging year. You are, as always, a blessing and someone who helps us deliver on a critical common mission in our state. 2021 was one of the most dynamic and taxing years for our Delaware National Guardsmen, both at home and abroad, as hundreds deployed both domestically and overseas in support of our nation's defense and well-being, including the many who risked their lives providing life-saving aid to Afghanistan evacuees, the many who supported the fight against COVID-19 here in our state of Delaware by providing critical medical care, support for our healthcare facilities and in underserved communities, and those who provided essential rescue support following last September's flooding in a neighborhood here in Wilmington. Last January, as you all know, many deployed for a significant period of time to protect our capital following the January 6th insurrection and riots, a day our country should never forget. Your rapid response was critical to the security of the Capitol, and it was an honor to meet with and thank so many of you. I particularly remember Specialist from Bear, who had missed his citizenship ceremony on January 13th because of his deployment. He was quick to respond and to deploy to Washington despite being a full-time student at UD and awaiting his citizenship. He was naturalized 2 days later in Washington, where he took an oath to defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, a pledge that had already been put to the test for this young Guardsman by firsthand experience. All of the members of Delaware's National Guard have stepped up and stepped out, put their lives and futures at the service of our state and country, and I'm immensely grateful for their service and sacrifice. I will continue to work as a member of the Appropriations Committee to support Delaware's Air and Army Guard and the other elements of our armed services. This includes working to secure a full year appropriation. There's roughly $114 million in the FY22 appropriations bill to support the Delaware Air and Army Guard. And I am working tirelessly to secure an additional congressionally directed spending allocation of $17 million for a fuel cell hangar for the new Castle County Air Guard. I am optimistic. I was just in contact with my senior appropriations aide, and I think we are days away from concluding an agreement for an FY22 appropriations package. Our deadline is March 11th. We've got a lot of work to do. He's a very tired man. He's been up all night for 3 days in a row as we negotiate the several hundred-page appropriations package that I'm responsible for. So I very much look forward to our continued work together. Let me close with one comment. I am just returning from several days spent in Germany, in Poland, and in Lithuania. And in both Poland and Lithuania, there is a critical state partnership in Poland with the Illinois National Guard, in Lithuania with the Pennsylvania National Guard. I got to go to an air base in Poland and to meet both Polish and American pilots flying F-16s and F-15s in joint patrols of NATO's eastern flank. And in Lithuania, I got to go to an armored training center to meet a Delawarean who is currently serving as a combat engineer alongside a rotational armored unit, and to meet both German, Lithuanian, and American soldiers there. This is a critical moment for security in Europe, and I'm proud of President Biden's tireless and vocal commitment to defend every inch of NATO territory. All of us woke up to profoundly disturbing images of Putin and Russia's aggression and their assault into Ukraine. I am more grateful than ever for your service and your readiness to defend the United States and the people of Delaware. whether from a public health emergency, a natural disaster, or the aggression of nations overseas. So please know that I look forward to standing with you and working with you in the year ahead, and I'm so grateful for what each and every one of you do. Thank you, Christine. Back to you.
Thank you, Senator, for your continued support of our veterans, our families, and our National Guard, and for being with us today. We appreciate it. Now, for the reason we are all zoomed in today, let's get the latest on your hometown force. Major General Mike Berry has over 34 years of military experience serving within the state, nation, and overseas. He assumed his duties as Delaware's Adjutant General on March 1st, 2019. As Adjutant General, he is responsible for the mission readiness of the Delaware National Guard units, to include our 1,600 soldiers and 1,100 airmen, and also both federal and state missions. Please welcome Delaware's Adjutant General, Major General Mike Berry.
Thanks, Christine. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, okay?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay. And thank you to everybody for this fantastic opportunity to be with you this morning. You know, the work that goes on at the state level with the governor and his staff and our congressional delegation at the national level is certainly appreciated and recognized by all members of our Delaware National Guard, both Army and Air. And I want to start off by saying thank you. Christine and your team, thank you so much. You know, as I watched the timing of the event this morning and your ability to foster military precision is amazing, and your timing is spot on. So the pressure is on me to get through my presentation and hopefully follow up with some of the information that has already been mentioned about our year in 2021. So if I could go to the next slide, I want to start with this slide for a couple of reasons. One, it's a significant operational slide because it tells a little bit of the story that has been so prevalent in the last couple of years within the state of Delaware. And it really does go back. Governor Carney talked about the leadership and the mentorship that was provided by General Vavla and General Timmons. And on this slide, it really does come out into the forefront. And I want to explain that a little bit. So this slide is actually got some tactical design behind it. And what you're going to see this is your Delaware National Guard leadership team, but you're also going to see some colors that are represented. And so if you're looking at the screen to the left, you're going to see the green blocks. You'll see General Danberg. He's our Assistant Adjutant General on the Army side. Again, a true lifelong Delawarean, former member of the cabinet, current chief judge of the Court of Common Pleas for the state of Delaware. And we were so fortunate when he made that decision in his life, he and his family, to serve our state and nation in an additional manner and join the Delaware National Guard. And his leadership, particularly during his tenure, has just really been outstanding. You see Chief Wilson, he's our State Command Chief Warrant Officer. General Danberg was a traditional soldier, is a traditional soldier. What I mean by that is drill weekends, annual trainings, but Monday through Friday, he works in a civilian career. Chief Wilson is technically also a traditional guardsman, but his Monday through Friday job throughout most of his career was at one of our senior maintenance experts. And then he transitioned over to the command team to become the state command chief. And then our state command sergeant major, Ed Crossman, comes with a world of experience. He's traditionally, he was an active Guard Reserve soldier, but comes with a vast amount of experience from the company level all the way up through the entire state. If you look at your screen all the way to the right, you're going to see the blue box. And it really starts with Brigadier General Ken Halton. He's our Assistant Adjutant General over on the air side. Again, another traditional airman, traditional guardsman, Monday through Friday. He's a prosecutor for the Attorney General's office down in King County. Then you're going to see Brigadier General Carla Reiner, another traditional airman. General Reiner, who just came up from the command of our wing, 166. She flies for United Monday through Friday. And then Command Chief Master Sergeant Robin Moore, who is the senior enlisted on our air side. Again, another airman or guardsman who worked full time for the organization and then stepped up into the role. Then what I really want to look at, and it's so important for what we've been going through here in Delaware. If you look at the purple slides, and that really represents joint. And I have to go back in history a little bit here. You know, I'm so appreciative that General Babel was on the call, General Broomall, and all the folks that many years ago, when I was working my way through my positions with the companies and battalions, they embraced the concept of joint. And so when you combine blue and green, Army and air, you get purple, and it's a joint. And that's why those colors are represented there. And so with their foresight, we really were able to establish a very strong network within the organization, joining those two Army and air components together. And it has been critical to our success over the last couple of years. And you see my position there as the Adjutant General, and I really do feel blessed to have been selected, and I appreciate working for Governor Carney and his team. And then General Benson is our Director of the Joint Staff. General Benson, again, lifelong Delawarean, just a tremendous leader, probably has more military deployments than anybody in leadership in the Delaware National Guard, and just really has come through in the last couple of years for us. And I remember telling him when he took over the position, hang on, because it's going to be busy, and he has been with us. It's almost a full-time job. And then Colonel Mike Karwaka is our Chief of the Joint Staff, and Mike works full-time. He's traditional, but he works for the federal government down at Aberdeen Breeding Ground as a senior leader in that organization, making sure that our all of our military forces truly have the best equipment and training that we can have throughout our organization. So that's why I want to spend a few minutes on that slide. We can go to the next slide, please. So when I talk about the Delaware National Guard, all the 54 National Guard, and certainly the rest of the reserve components, I like to talk about a triad of the reserve components because it's critical to our existence. And that triad includes the individual member, the soldier, the airman, the members of the Navy, the Marine reserve components, the Coast Guardsmen. Those individuals, as was mentioned, certainly by Senator Carper, they've taken an oath and they represent the best of America. But the other two pieces of this triad are so important, and that's your families, and has been mentioned many times, that the employers. Because if there's a disconnect in any of those three components, we wouldn't have a reserve component, and it certainly makes us a stronger state and a stronger nation. This slide represents all the programs, or most of the programs that we do internally with the Delaware National Guard support programs. I will tell you all this, and I'm not saying this because she's on the call and put this all together, but I have the best director J9 component in the country. And that was made very clear to the rest of the country recently when Delaware was identified as the model format for a J9 family support, military member support operations as a member of the Joint Staff. Again, it's a purple block, and I'm so thankful for Christine and her service, to our men and women. But over on the left, you'll see the internal programs. Could spend easily the rest of the program just going through them, but without your support, a lot of those programs would not exist, and they truly make our organization stronger. And then you'll see the key community partners, and again, going down the list. Some of them have certainly been mentioned. The ESGR is critical. Congratulations to their anniversary. But the individual organizations that reach out and really help make us a stronger organization overall, I can't thank them enough. Next slide. I'm going to go through again some of the events. Now, many of these have been discussed, and I fully recognize the value that the governor and our congressional delegation, their comments were spot on, and their understanding and their knowledge and their recognition of what we, the Delaware National Guard, has been doing, it takes the pressure off of me, because they've really covered down on everything, and I really appreciate that, and it's certainly not lost on all of us. If we go to the next slide, I'll start off just going through some highlights of the COVID-19 response. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to start with the hospitality orderly mission, really because that's the most recent one that we've started, and it's also the one that we are we're bringing down in mission right now. We're actually reducing forces. What a tremendous opportunity for our men and women to step up and work in a field that they traditionally wouldn't work in. Our mechanics, our truck drivers, our aviation crew, mechanics and so forth, our MPs, all of them, and then the same folks over on the air side, all of those folks stepped up to do a mission that really they've never really done before. And you can see what they've done, where they've been. The entire state was represented, and I'm so thankful for our civilian leadership that's gotten out there to check on them and to see them in their new roles in the orderly mission, and it's just been a tremendous opportunity. Fortunately, we are bringing down the numbers, and they will go back to a more traditional role. But this really starts that transition. It's so important, where the employers of these 194 guardsmen, this was a no-notice event. This was a couple of days. We brought them in, and their employers were so supportive, and that's part of that Triad that I talked about, and it's really just been great success. Next slide. Okay, the certified nursing assistant mission. Again, this was a setup that it was a thought that came out. We knew that the state needed support, and there was a lot of preparation and cooperation and coordination to get this done. We have 86 of our guardsmen that went through the program. It was hosted by Deltec in all three counties. And one of the unique parts to this is that typically this is a 3-month program to be certified in Delaware as a certified nursing assistant. However, our guardsmen were able to get through this in just over 2 weeks and met the full credentials, from the training, the test, and then the going through the field criteria, and then the background part of it. And everybody came together on this. Just tremendous cooperation. One of the things we recognized right off was that it was going to be a big lift getting through the background checks on this. And the members of the State Bureau of Identification, the civilian employees there, came in on the weekend when they were off and focused on getting these over 80 individuals through the background. And it streamlined the process. We wouldn't have been able to get the mission done without those folks. And then, of course, all the instructors at Deltec, and just tremendous support. You can see where they've been working. They truly had an impact on this industry. The long-term care facilities, certainly, and they've done amazing work. Again, you can see what they've been what they've been focusing on. Next slide. This is what we've been doing the longest in the COVID response was the vaccine and the testing mission. When we got the call back in the beginning of 2020, and we were dealing with the pandemics, we knew that we were going to be engaged in this because one of the unique factors about the Guard is we are prepared for the long deployments. You know, we're very good at the short storms response, couple days, 2-3 days, but we prepare every day through the year for the long deployments because that's our federal mission. Well, it has certainly come into play in the pandemic mission, as you can see, and so we've been doing vaccines. We started with the testing, the contact tracing, if you will, when we got into this mission set. And then we have been all over the state, and the numbers are staggering. So if you look down there, you're going to see the 1.6 million vaccines that have been administered, and I was fortunate to be at the very first vaccine delivery. That was a historical moment for the Delaware National Guard because that vaccine was given to a civilian, and that was the first time in our history that a uniform member had done that. And then you see all the tests that have taken place, the million tests that we've done. And that mission set still continues. We're all over the state. We're doing warehousing. We're moving the vaccines. We're moving the tests themselves. And then we're getting the data entry, helping the state get the data entry part of this. Next slide. Okay, this is a little known mission. We have been extremely fortunate to have picked up a mission supporting the president as he and the first lady move back and forth within our borders. And you know, there's a lot of protocol that goes with this, and it is a tremendously front and center mission. And you can see it has been a great opportunity for our leadership to actually get to meet President Biden. First lady, and we're prepared, and we know this mission is going to carry on for at least the next 3 years. And so we do appreciate small state. You know, we've known in our entire careers and basically our lives. This is a really great mission for all of us. Next slide. Yeah, I want to spend a few minutes here. I'm doing pretty good on my time. So the Central Delaware Partnership for Hope, we joined up back in July and August with multiple reserve component agencies from all over the country. The city of Dover, several state agencies, the Department of Education, a lot of our medical community in Kent County. And we did an IRT, it's an individualized readiness training program where we take a training need, which is to provide medical services. And you can just imagine medical, dental, optometry, some pharmacy work. And those are skill sets that our soldiers and our service members in all components have to maintain skill sets. And so the IRTs were set up to take that need for the training, put it in a real life capacity, and then provide services to communities throughout our nation and throughout the world where those services are needed. And we were very fortunate to have been selected to have Dover, Kent County, Central Delaware picked up for this IRT mission. And although the dates were about 10 days, this was a very, very long planning process. Again, just the numbers are staggering if you'll look at them. Over 250 service members were housed at Delaware State University, Wesley campus. Just great support from that organization. We can't thank them enough. And then we set up the clinics at the North Dover Elementary School, South Dover Elementary School, and then Town Point Elementary School. which really reached out through all the corners of the Dover area, the greater Dover area, and it allowed a lot of access. And if you look at those numbers, you can see the access. 6,100 medical exams, 5,800 dental, 4,900 optometry services. And this one was really interesting to watch because we brought in an active duty team that had the capability of receiving a prescription for eyeglasses from the team out in the field. And then with the next day, they had produced the actual glasses for the citizen. Just tremendous work all around. And then you can see the cost, right? So $1.3 million in services provided, no cost. But from a readiness perspective, remember, I have two missions, my state mission and my federal mission. From a readiness perspective, I know that there's 250 service members out there who are better prepared to go to war, to do their federal mission. And that's the value of these IRTs. So again, tremendous work. Next slide. It was mentioned in the video, and you've seen some pictures on the Hurricane Ida response. Actually, a small mission set for us, a very quick turnaround. You can see we only had 9 guardsmen activated, but wow, what a concentrated mission set. I want to go back and give a shout out to our public affairs team. You know, I've been in the Guard, Delaware Guard, my entire career, other than 1 year in Afghanistan. And so 33 years of watching the year in review, and I still get cold chills, and I'm still ready to raise my right hand and jump on board. And I think that was certainly messaged in that video. And this was captured in that video. So it just goes to show, just how much work the men and women, your family, your friends, your neighbors have really been doing. And again, so September's, this was a real quick mission, but we're still feeling the effects of this in our communities in Wilmington, as was mentioned. Next slide. I will say I do not want to jinx this, so I'm going to knock on wood here. Winter storm response. We really have been fortunate with storms over the last few years, and I but I remember when I was fortunate to have been selected for the Adjutant General, and we went through the change of command ceremony. Many of you know my wife is also in the Guard. Was currently serving in Connecticut, but was joined the Delaware Guard before I did. We were driving home, and I said to her, I said, it was March, and I knew I was going to have 5 or 6 months of preparation to get ready for our typical storm season, and then everything hit. As has been mentioned multiple times, the pandemic, the discourse across the country, January 6th, and then all the other stuff that we've been doing. And we really had been fortunate with the weather response. And I said, I can get ready for the storms, and we've had everything but. And, and I look back at that moment and that time, and I just think about how much has occurred. But again, we had the storm here in January. Again, a relatively small activation, but it was very rewarding to sit back and watch the joint staff as they prepared for this, as they operated through this, and then as they did retrograde operations to close this out, and to watch and listen to the comments that were made with the experience level that we have in our joint team, the purple blocks, and then the input from the green and the blue blocks, the force providers, the Army and the air side of the team, in making sure that we were extremely efficient. Again, a pretty quick no-notice event, but it was very successful, and they did have some very important missions throughout Kent and Sussex primarily. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'm going to go through the slides. Community support. You know, we continue to try to do our best to be out there because, has been mentioned, particularly by the governor. You know, we get a lot of benefits from being out in our communities, primarily retention and recruiting, and awareness. Public awareness is so important for what we do. And these are just some of the examples of things that we do. I would like to highlight the 287th Army Band. You know, the last couple of years, it really took us off our schedule, our summer concert series that we've done for many years, the holiday concerts that we've had to limit, make them virtual. But our band, which is 99% traditional soldiers, they're music teachers, they're accountants, they're members of, you know, senior members of our education organizations in Delaware and surrounding states, and they all come together 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And the best band in the land, General Avila has always said. And so they continue to be operational. We were the first COVID compliant public concert once the nation shut down and all the bands were shut down across the 54, when we did a summer event in Lewis at the library, public library. And we were in full compliance, and it made national news because our leaders of that band, they were so adamant that they wanted to play, they wanted to serve the citizens, but they were going to do it within the rules and the construct that they were given, and they did a great job. Next slide. Okay, go through, and most of these have been talked about. Significant events for the Army. We had our 55 members of the aviation company that deployed to Kosovo, they returned. And then we currently have 6 members of our 201st firefighting unit. They are in Romania. Now, they've been there, they'll be coming back in the spring, and they are supporting an airfield in Romania. And you know, I'm limited on what I can talk about, but their op tempo has significantly increased, I would say that. And they are doing very, very well. Fantastic work. Their morale is extremely high, and they are certainly in Europe at a historical time, as has been mentioned by our congressional delegation. So a shout out to them. And then talked about the state missions. So that's our Army. You see some great pictures there. Next slide. This is our air. Just a couple of highlights there. Air, because of the purple concept, the joint concept, our Air Guard and our Army Guard have been involved in everything. But the air had a significant lift during the Afghanistan Allies Refuge and Allies Welcome Home. And, you know, General Reiner is one of the experts within the country in mobility, particularly because of her role as a C-130 command pilot and, you know, her experiences there. But she's traveled all over the country working as a mobilization expert for big Air Force, right? Active duty Air Force, and particularly focused on Allies Refuge and Allies Welcome Home. And then I have to give a shout out to the cyber communication squadron that we have. Again, another topic, I can't go into great detail, but we have the best of the best. They are traditional guardsmen. They come to drill one weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and they operate some of the most important cyber infrastructure in the private sector within our country. The talent is just unbelievable. And they have done a great job supporting our state. And I do have to give, again, some recognition to our other state cabinet officials and the agencies they represent. We were able to identify a lot of SOPs, standard operating procedures, and doctrine that we could put in place ahead of the need, so that when the need for their cyber expertise came forward, they were able to go right to work. and it has paid great dividends for the state. And so that's just, again, another example of the talent that is within your Delaware National Guard. And then you'll see down at the very bottom, I do want to talk about that mutual aid response. You know, the firefighters up at the air base in Newcastle, they cover down on the mission of the air base, right? All the civilian aircraft that come in and out, they have the whole base. But they also step out for to assist the local fire departments in the Newcastle area. And they're one of the most deployed military firefighting units in the country because of that joint cooperation with the civilian agencies. And again, most of our firefighters are volunteers. And so because our folks are on full time, you know, around the clock, their response time is very fast. So you know, again, a very well-deserved shout out to them. Next slide. Okay, budget. You guys have heard me talk about this. I'm going to get through these last slides, and we're actually doing pretty well. Our federal budget is much larger than our state budget. You can see the numbers there. Of course, most of the costs always are wrapped up in personnel, but we do have significant equipment, as you can imagine, with all the aircraft. And then, of course, our facilities. We'll talk about facilities here in a second, but the buildings and the support we get from the congressional delegation and the state, certainly in a lot of our buildings I'm going to go through here shortly. The state budget's the next slide, if you will. We are a tremendous value, as most of you recognize, to the state. Our operating budget's a little over $5 million, and then we have some capital budget that you'll see in there, and again, a very small piece, but tremendous savings. Remember, you've got all this capability that really you only have to call in when you absolutely need them, and then you pay for that short period. It's not ongoing costs, and that's for the reserve component in general, both national and state, but across the board. Next slide. Okay, this was mentioned in the slide or in the video. This was the construction of our combined support maintenance shop. I encourage everybody to take a ride by on River Road over there on Route 9. They're doing great work. And I mentioned Chief Wilson, State Command Chief, Warrant Officer. This was his baby, his project. He ran that facility right up until they built it, and I pulled him out of there and brought him on board up at headquarters. So great work for him and his team. Next slide. We're going to talk about some future initiatives. I'll go through them pretty quickly, but you can see them. We're always looking at energy. Solar is a big focus. We're working on a microgrid within our headquarters complex, and the aviation center has been mentioned. Over at the Air Guard base, fuel cell hangar. We're doing some work at the main gate out front. And then, of course, the modernization of the aircraft, which is really coming to fruition for us as we've gotten our H2.5s here in the last year, which keeps us ready, right? It keeps us relevant at the national and international level. And then at the Army, for the Army side, you get into, again, the CSMS at River Road. We're going to put a Readiness Center. We've got two big projects at Bethany Beach. You'll see that momentarily. And then the 12 Penns Way acquisition, I'll go over. Next slide. There's the modernization. Again, tremendous work at all levels. This is a very expensive endeavor for the nation. We recognize it takes time, but it is certainly needed. And the C-130s, our C-130s now are 91 models. They were early 80 models prior to the change out, and we're certainly appreciative of that. Next slide. Bethany Beach, there's your new transient quarters for our students down at Bethany Beach up at the top. And then down at the bottom is the new physical fitness center that will go in nicely with our new Army combat fitness test. So you're going to see some construction down at Bethany Beach going on over the next couple of years. Next slide. This is looking at our Army facilities and our wing up at the air base all throughout the state. A lot of projects going on. We've been very successful at the federal level, and the state is always willing to cover down on that state share part of it, which gives us a lot of leverage when we're going after the federal monies. And again, just a tremendous impact. The more we can stay out within the community, spread out throughout the state, the easier it is to recruit, and the closer your employees who are in the Guard are to their Guard station. So it's important that we maintain this footprint, and we provide them safe and secure facilities when they go to drill weekend. Next slide. Okay, this is River Road Readiness Center. Again, it's going to be where the old CSMS was, just a future project. You see how it works, 75% federal, 25% state. So I want to thank in advance the state for prepping to kick in that funding, which allows us to go after the big federal dollars. Next slide. Cheswold, tremendous partnership with the state of Delaware. They provided the 36 acres there at Cheswold Fast Landing Road, right on Route 1. What a great location. There's our future plans. 2 readiness centers and a field maintenance shop. So we will be able to centralize our units and the equipment and have easy access on and off to Route 1. So again, very, very great opportunity. Next slide. This is our newest project. I thank the governor and the folks that are working in the ARPA world. We were able to acquire some money to purchase an old building of ours. This used to be a Delaware National Guard facility. 12 Penn's Way up on the hill, right at the air base, right adjacent to headquarters. And we're going to be able to run centralized pandemic operations as need be, because it's a big footprint parking area, a lot of room. And then it also gives us the ability to move some medical folks, some aviators into another facility. And it's going to be a great acquisition, really help us out in the Okay, the next 2 slides are talking about our partnerships. Already mentioned state partnership, Trinidad Tobago. You saw that on the video. Youth Challenge, still on board with DC National Guard, giving our students who might not be successful in the traditional high school setting, they're moving out, going to a residential program, a lot of success. It seems like it's a Delaware award program every time they have graduation. All our students do really well. Next slide. Again, some more programs within the state. Again, it's critical for our mission. Give you a second to look at that. Then I'm going to close out with what the governor mentioned, and that's growing the Guard. That's kind of my primary mission set, other than what I'm ordered to do by my job position. But the mission, we really need to grow the Guard. I'd like to see it push back up to about 2,000 Army in particular. We're at 1,600. The air is going to stay relatively consistent because it's a wing, but on the Army side, we really need some growth there, and we need your help, because we need to add personnel. You see what we're looking at with the specific jobs. Go to the next slide. This is a little bit about who can join. Reach out, Facebook, Delaware National Guard. Just Google Delaware National Guard recruiting. If you've got any great leads, we're looking, what we're looking for, the same people you are. The difference is we can give them a part-time job with a pension, healthcare, benefits, and a lot of leadership and professional training. Next slide. And then again, it's just what I just mentioned, and it talks about some of the benefits. Again, Christine, I know I really pushed this one by a couple of minutes past. I do appreciate this opportunity. I'm always available 24/7, 365. If you have questions, feel free anytime, and I'll certainly do my best to get back to you. Thanks, Christine.
General Barry, thank you so much. Next slide, Helena. We really do appreciate you being with us today. I have been monitoring the chat. I did not see any questions. I'll just check it one more time to be sure. Certainly an impressive update. And it looks like we're going to be busy for 2022. And when we come back a year from now for the State of the Guard here, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So appreciate that. I do want to thank the chamber staff before we go, the support in today and making everything happen, especially Helena, Kelly, Regina, Nicole, and Tyler. Could not have done it without you. You are all amazing. We want to thank you everyone for tuning in today and zooming in with us. Most importantly, thank you to our soldiers, airmen, and families of the Delaware National Guard for all their selfless service to the citizens of the state of Delaware. Thanks for zooming in today. Go Guard. We'll see you next year, hopefully in person. Take care, everyone.
Take care.